Welcome to another episode of, excuse me, You Left Shit Out. I'm your host, Compton J. Um, Today we're going to be, let me center this correct. This was supposed to be another one of my off days. Was just dead tired from the summit, and um, so today's my off day. But even on my off days, I still kind of, at least watch content, uh, discussions, just immersed in it all the time. So I'm watching it, dropping my daughter off, and a video pops up. I click on it. It's this one. Why forced the vote failed. And I listened to it. So full disclosure, when forced the vote was happening, I was only in communication with the people who were for it. Never watched any content, never watched any debates. I didn't watch the Ryan Grimm, Briahna, was it Ryan Grimm and BJG, or the Vanguard maybe and Ryan Grimm? Never watched any of that. So a lot of you may be like, well, this is kind of old, Jay, why, CJ, why are you this is new for me. It's the first time I've seen a few of the videos I'll be playing today. All of the videos today is the first time I saw them today. And once I clicked on this one, in the suggested box, another one came up. And what's the other one called? What if forced to vote failed? And then there's another one where they have a clip of Nina Turner giving her opinion on it. So it was very shocking to me. So all of you have already lived through this shockness, for those who have seen all of this content. So I'm late. So I acknowledge that. I am late. So, but I just, when I started to see video after video, I was just like, wow, there's no way I can let today go by and not at least come on here and talk about it, because this is like, I guess, cathartic for me. This is therapy. So, because I was screaming at the at my phone when I was just listening to some of this just ridiculous bullshit. But anyway, let's go ahead and begin examining the first of, I think I got 4 videos. They're all short. I think this is the longest one. The other ones are like 4 minutes, 3 minutes. So let's listen. Let's see how far we can get.
Jimmy Files. Love Bree and Virgil and bad faith, but at one point in the debate, Bree says that TYT, majority report, the DSA, our congressional allies didn't get behind the force to vote. And it's like, yeah, maybe reflect on that. I will say this. Look, I
reflect on what? We're like, the people who were forced to vote are supposed to reflect on why fake leftists didn't join a real leftist fight. That's what we're talking about here. The reflection is, okay, I promised myself I wasn't going to start calling them names. So, because we have to get past this and just talk about the strategy. Because this is not a bash the people who are against. Let's examine what you're saying about the strategy and talk about the strategy. So this is not a personality bash. And that's what I don't want to do. And that's what we all need to stop doing. So let's listen some more. And which one? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. All right, so let's continue.
Went into that situation not quite fully appreciating what was going to happen. And, force the vote is in the past. It failed. It didn't just fail.
So what's curious to me, or what's interesting to me, is what he's calling what forced the vote was that failed. So I'm going to leave it there. There's more to add, but I want him to say more before I interject more.
Here, it didn't just fail in the sense that the progressives in the Congress weren't it didn't do what Force the Vote wanted to do, which was to force a vote on Medicare for all.
That's what this was about. That's it. That's it. So you're excluding the only reason, in my mind, let me go back and just make sure I understood that again.
It didn't do what.
Hold on a second. Go back to there.
The progressives in the Congress weren't it didn't do what Force the Vote wanted to do, which was to force a vote on Medicare for all. If I organize 3 million people to put comments in at the FCC to reverse net neutrality, let's say, just to use an example in the past, and net neutrality isn't reversed, okay, that failed, but I did organize 3 million people to send in comments and achieved like the biggest.
So what he's comparing, that analogy is that, you know, some sort of suggestion box, you stuff it for whatever this organization, and it fails. Like nothing happens because you stuff. So that's not what happened. Like AOC, the squad progressives didn't attempt to force the vote and fail. What he's using as a comparison is the people who did a force the vote, who was pushing force the vote, all of us who was pushing force the vote, we failed in convincing the fraud squad. So that failed in convincing them. I didn't know that was the take. I thought the whole point was to force the vote on Pelosi. Okay.
Amount of pressure that the FCC has ever received. In this instance, force the vote failed. And I think, you know, many people subscribe to the notion that, you know, people need to be convinced to support a candidate or to support an endeavor or whatever. And the force the vote people failed miserably at that. And
if I'm understanding this wrong, so people need to be convinced on a so is the critique, is the comment, is the take that people, the squad are the people that need to be convinced that they're for Medicare for all, or that they're for the strategy, I guess.
And one of the reasons, you know, they failed to convince me was that it was
because you have an MSNBC contract. Let's move to the next thing now.
A middling idea.
Middling idea. This shit is ridiculous.
I didn't think the ask was the right ask. And I said.
So what I learned from the third party summit was profound to me from Dr. Jill Stein, which that we have to stop trying to convince people. Go after the people that's already convinced. We're not going to convince well-off, rich, white liberals cosplaying as leftists. We're not going to convince them. That's not going to happen. So instead of that, we don't have to sell Medicare for all to an unhoused person on Skid Row. I don't have to sell that to him. I don't have to sell housing for everybody. to an unhoused person. We need to go after the people we don't need to sell things on. Because the selling point, if you're a leftist, is everybody getting Medicare for all by any means necessary. This just happened to be a great means forcing a vote on Nancy Pelosi.
I said nothing about it. And then it failed even more because Jimmy Dore used it as a weapon to create a wedge between.
He's describing his own personal. So Jimmy Dore used it as a weapon. A private citizen talking about it used it as a weapon because he didn't like what was happening. He gave his opinion, and that to you is a wedge issue. If you didn't participate and force the vote, something you claim you want, which is Medicare for all, and it was because it was Jimmy Dore, you're unserious, and I'm not interested in like coalitioning with you in any way. You are the white moderate, where it's not the right time, marginalized person. Now it's not the right time. That's the white moderate. And it has nothing to do with your complexion at this point. There's many white moderates. Obama is a white moderate. He's the white moderate concept that Malcolm X and MLK both warn us about. Those are the people we have to stop teaming up with and trying to convince. In a revolution, when we're about to protest the Capitol, this will be the group will say, let's not do that. Because to them, they want to just be able to pull a lever and get the shit they want. They want to go like this. Lever pulled. Look at me. I'm an activist. That's what they want to do to get this. The problem with that strategy, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people that will literally die while this happens, while this slow walk to healthcare for everyone happens. The strategy that you're talking about. That's really what this is. It is a slow walking strategy, or it's a pressure the system strategy to push this now. And so that is the two sides that we're talking about. If we're going to take for granted what they're saying, they are leftists. They want the same thing we want. Let's take them at their word face value in this instance. Okay? So the strategy is different. Why are you tearing down the strategy? You want Medicare for all too. So why someone else who's calling themselves leftist, who's doing a strategy that's different from yours, but it's going to achieve the same goal, why are you criticizing it? That's the point. There was many comrades who did not participate in the third party summit. None of them came out bashing it. But they told me, hey, that's your thing. I'm not with that shit. The next summit, I'm with you. That's fine. The ridicule of the people who would use this strategy kind of shows the elitism They're the poor leftists. Look at them. They're so naive because we refuse to go along with the fucking duopoly. That's usually what it means when they call us naive, when they call us immature. You're just childish. It's the refusal to accept the lesser of two evil scenario. That is childish. Because to them, as an adult, you have to take what it is. That is such a cowardice stance. That is such a weak, surrendering type of stance to have, or ideology to have, I guess is the right way to say it. Let's look here. I'm going to start from the top here and see what comments I missed here. Let's go. Okay, just throw up some comments here for Bill. Shouldn't we? We probably should. Shouldn't we get free health care before WW? The thing is, they could be dropping bombs here. And some people be no Medicare for all, no force to vote. We still got to go through regular procedure with the right people starting this. And you peasants can just follow what the real leaders of the leftist movement should be doing. The ones that went to Ivy League schools, that's who we're going to listen to. Because being able to get to an Ivy League school or being able to accumulate this amount of money makes you smarter. The fuck out of here. So let's continue. That's the point I'm making here. It didn't fail. It revealed synthetic left. And I think that's it. Absolutely. Hey, Dana. Forced to vote was a true mask off moment for progressives, and that is the point. It's good to know before you enter a revolution which ones are the cowards. Put them motherfuckers in the back. Because they're going to get us all fucking killed. So which ones are the cowards and which ones are the ones that's ready to go to war? It's good to reveal that. I'm not even familiar with it. Like I said, I was just listening to people talking about let's go march for force of vote. Any sort of criticism, I have an ability, I guess is a superpower. I literally don't even pay attention to that shit. The first negative word, I immediately just block off. Those people don't matter. So I don't know when you say David Sirota was a cherry on top because I don't know what he did or didn't do. So I'm not sure what that is. None of their reasons for opposing stack up. And ahistorical women's suffrage failed in Congress repeatedly before finally passing in 1920. Yeah, we got to keep listening to him. And he always does that long pause. It's like, and well, maybe he smokes a lot of weed. I don't know. That's the thing. Thank you, Alex, for this point. We should force every vote we want. What else are those who's supposed to do but listen to us? That's the point. It's not just force to vote for Nancy Pelosi. Why aren't you forcing to vote for everything? You're waiting for a committee assignment so you can do what? This is so... The rate at what we're going to have at this rate, we're going to have single payer health care that's means tested for about 95% of people in about 50 years. We won. Progressives, the squad, it's great. That is 100% correct. Nancy Pelosi is the enemy. We should never forget that. Sabby told Sam to go to bed. That's great. They're simply not building support for it when they don't fight for it. Thank you, Anthony. Failure is Sam's success. Jaya Paul, it wouldn't kill the movement paradox. It would kill the movement. I mean, get the... Get my woosah moment here. Okay, let's put this one up. The left wing of the Democratic Party is the single biggest obstacle to advancing working class interests. This is the comment so far of the stream. The white moderate, the white liberal, the left. These is all terms that can be synonymous. They mean the same thing. You are the biggest obstacle. I'm just really curious to find out, what is it? How do they convince every single progressive to flip like this? What is happening back there to get so many progressives? I mean, Jamal Bowman, like, soon as he got word he won, he flipped immediately. Let's get back to the video, because there is another video. It's a progression of videos I want to go through.
People who are looking to the progressives in Congress to make some change, and those progressive the lawmakers, and it alienated people, and
it alienated people because the proponents of forced to vote put pressure on the people who should be forcing the vote, and that alienated people. You are attacking AOC, mister. I'm doing an impression. You are attacking AOC, mister, and I don't like that. This shit is... The privilege you must have to be able to step away from a strategy to get health care because you don't like Jimmy Dore, or you don't like the fact that somebody said something bad about your hero worshiping superhero politician. Think about the unseriousness of that. It's almost like you're looking for reasons not to support it. Let's continue.
You know, I wasn't saying like, I suppose I could have gone on to bat. They said you're tactic shaming me, right? Isn't that the thing? Like, if you don't do what I say you do, you're shaming me. But that was not my.
It was more than that too. Like, well, I mean, it's also conflating a support for a tactic with Medicare for all,
absolutely,
which is the worst part.
Absolutely, and
I think you're conflating things, because no one would have ever said anything to you if you didn't start attacking the strategy. We would have just thought, like every other thing, the rich white cosplaying leftists ain't gonna be here participating, just like everything else. Now, I don't know who decided to open their mouth first, but somebody decided to attack it. And then, just like all of you are class loyalists, when one of you are getting attacked, then all of y'all start attacking that shit. Class loyalists, right? Anyway, let's get through this. I'm gonna keep stopping it. This is the one show that I literally can't get through more than 30 seconds. When I keep stopping it, it is. I'm trying to think of a worse show. Maybe Tim Black is up there. I can't. I mean, this is terrible.
I support Medicare for all a lot more than Jimmy, who supported Tulsi Gabbard in the primary.
Look how mad she got there. You see the attitude that came out when she talked about Jimmy? The seriousness. This is about level of engagement. I said this in another video. Level of engagement. The people that live in the Jordandale projects in Watts, do you think they're going to be going, fuck giving me health care because Jimmy Dore? You think they're going to say some shit like that? Or do you think Emma, the rich white liberal, has the privilege to say that? Another human being, your disdain for another human being and what he says, what he represents, who he supported, Tulsi Gabbard, means that strategy is bad. You're fucking unserious, man. You're fucking unserious. We should have like a RBN versus Majority Report discussion. What do they got? These three throwing Nominki and me, Sabi, whoever else, all of us, Nick, because their audience needs to hear real leftists. Their audience needs to hear what real leftists sound like and not their interpretation and their imitation of the dumb left that they've referred to. That term was very it was used a lot during that time. Their audience really needs to hear that. They need to have actual leftists and not a hit piece. That's why it has to be more than one person. Like for them and for us, let's just talk strategy. Because what we can say is your strategy has been being used for decades and it's terrible. That's what we can say about your strategy. Let me make sure this volume's down. So yeah, we're not gonna watch all of this, but maybe a few more minutes of it, and then we're gonna.
It was more than that too. Like, well, I mean, it's also conflating a support for a tactic with.
Medicare for all,
absolutely, which is the worst.
No, you don't have to support it. You tore it down. That's what you're conflating. You're conflating your disdain for Jimmy Dore and tearing it down and your excuse making with just simply saying you didn't support it. There's more than that, right? That's the line she just used. There's more to it than that.
Worst part.
Absolutely. And
I argue I support Medicare for all a lot more than Jimmy, who supported Tulsi Gabbard in the.
That line is so telling of her privilege. That line right there. And you see her, the energy and everything else, the energy when it got to that fucking part.
In the primary, and I supported Bernie Sanders.
I just wasn't.
She thinks she dropped the mic. That's what she thinks.
Going into, I didn't quite realize that this was going to be sort of a debate to justify anything. And the idea that, like, well, you should have made it about PAYGO. Well, it was called Force the Vote. It wasn't called Force the PAYGO.
They weren't talking about PAYGO. I mean, you were talking about PAYGO.
And, the idea that like, initially I was just going to sit this out, 1,000 flowers bloom. But and there, the exchange was fine. I was, told over and over again that I was, making it about Jimmy Dore, and I was. I mean, that was the reason why. In fact, I don't know that I ever like publicly dissed the Force the Vote until I certainly didn't until Jimmy, started saying that AOC was the reason why we don't have Medicare for all, which is just patently absurd and
harmful.
So, I mean,
let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. If the duopoly is the problem, what good is it to have leftist beliefs, but you still use duopoly tactics? You tell me, what good is that? And I mean, I'm not sure the right way to say it. To me, tactics is part of what makes you a leftist. That is part of it. The type of tactic you use or don't use. That is part of the definition that makes you a leftist. It is. I got to find a better way to articulate that.
I sort of thought what that was going to be a very sort of like ally to ally conversation about like what we can do better next time, rather than a scolding as to why I didn't get on board with something that I had. I mean, I'll be honest with everybody. Bree knew exactly what I was going to say. I had told her, we had gone back and forth on DMs, and I had said, like, because initially I'd invited her on to the show. And she didn't want to come on. I invited her on long time ago. She didn't want to come on.
Couple asks, right? Asks.
Well, I mean, look,
before the Christmas break.
Yeah, and she didn't want to come on. That's fine. And so I went on. I was not really, to be honest with you, expecting what it was, but it was what it was, and that's
what it was. It for those in the comment, describe what happened on that, because literally, I have never watched it. So, what is it? 1240. So comments after 1240, I guess would apply. So, what happened? A couple of people in a couple of sentences describe what happened in that debate. You said it is what it is. Typically, when you say it is what it is, that's not good. You don't win the lottery and you go, it is what it is. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's not what happens. So it usually means, oh, right here, it was a bloodbath. Let's see. Okay, it starts right here, the comments. Oh, don't see that one. Don't see that one. Let's see that one. Okay. I wouldn't want to go on if I was Bree also. Sam was on Sex and the City. He thinks was a good actor. By the time I started with Jimmy, it had become obvious that Bernie was never going to take the gloves off. He become you're having an internal conversation. My bad. Okay. What's up, Nick? Bree destroys Sam during their FD. So he got destroyed. And that's the way he describes it. Got it. Like, thanks, Nick, coming in with that. I mean, it was a lot of great other you covered the description of what happened. Wait till you get to this next video. And I was shocked by the Nina Turner video. I'm not even sure I heard she said what she said in that video that I'm gonna play.
I didn't perceive that. And then, to be honest with you, like, following that, the clips that they put out, I just found to be like there was something else going on. It was really just more about validating a position that they had.
It was that you made a fool of yourself, and it was hilarious. Is that what happened? You made a fool of yourself, and it was hilarious, and there were clips out about it, and now you're feeling some type of way. I mean, that's essentially what happened. Let me get the date of this video, I guess. This is January. So January 2021. It's the date of this video. So I'm actually gonna keep this up, but I'm gonna share a different video where he talks about it also, but this one is it's framed where what if forced a vote actually happened? Like, what if it happened? So let's see the take on this video. Oops, there we go.
With something that was like a online thing, but there was a big controversy at the beginning of the year, you may be aware of an attempt by some members of the internet world that some of whom identified as left, arguably.
Did you notice? Like, I just started this shit. What? 15 seconds. 15 seconds into it, and you can hear and feel the elitism that they all. It's almost like they just before they started the video, we all talked about the dumb left, and now we're getting on. It was like an inside joke, sort of like move there. Let's look.
With something that was like a online thing, but there was a big controversy at the beginning of the year, you may be aware of an attempt by some members of the internet world that some of whom identified as left, arguably.
What would you describe as what he's doing now? What do you describe what he's doing now? If I was a person first looking at the video, looking at it from there, it's like the Maury show. You bring out the first person that's going to give the story. The second person is going to get booed when he come out or she come out. They're going to get booed because the first person already set up the whole mood to the audience. So he's pulling a Maury right now. Pulling a Maury. Let's see here. Let's go.
That they should, the members of the squad should, and progressives in general, I guess, in the House should withhold their votes for Nancy Pelosi's leadership, and in return get a vote on Medicare for all, which would have surely lost at a minimum 113. Like, that's the number of people.
So just right off in the description of how he's describing it, it's already clear he doesn't even really understand what forced the vote, the intentions of it was. He doesn't understand that just in the description. And this goes back to what I said. Leftists still thinking in sort of mind frame, the duopoly mind frame. And I'm going to explain that further in a minute.
People who signed on to co-sponsor it to the remainder of the House, which is about 313 or no 20, I guess. So 320. Had they done that, had they been successful, had they decided this is a good idea for whatever reason, and they had done that, and they had gotten their vote, and they lost their vote, and then that was the end of the strategy.
This is the part to me, either they're this removed from the ground, the feeling on the ground, not leftists who have healthcare and they pontificate, talking about leftists who are leftists through struggle and they actually don't have healthcare, right? Let me just play that one more time before I say this second part here.
Decided this is a good idea for whatever reason, and they had done that. And they had gotten their vote, and they lost their vote. And then that was the end of the strategy.
The inability to understand politics without the duopoly framing. Because rich leftists who claim to be leftists. This is why, like Marianne Williamson is another one. They only can understand things in wins and losses. This is why you don't see her supporting third parties like she should. Viable third party option means winning, and that is not the point of a third party right now. If you only let me say it a different way. You're not going to get anything like on the scale of Social Security, on the scale of Social Security without a grand push of activism, which is what we're trying to get started. So the point of force to vote was because when you force the vote, we're gonna put Medicare for all. We all knew it was gonna lose. But what happens when a bill is up for a vote? What happens? Don't you have to debate it? So you're having to go through debate. Americans are able to view who's for it. What is Medicare for all? There's a big lesson being taught to the entire nation while this bill is being put on the floor. And that lies the point. This is the difference between people who are in movements and people who just pontificate on things. Movement is about movement, doing things to push levers all the time, continuously. Not only levers do you think, that lever's going to win, let's push that shit only. That's not how it works. So let's listen a little more to this here.
Do you think, and let's assume that also dragged out for a couple of days, because it probably would have.
That's what they were calling for. Yeah.
They were calling to drag it out so that it would create some notice that there was going to be a vote on Medicare for all.
Which was January 4th and 5th, right?
So this is what they're trying to tell us here. A policy that has, what is it up to now? I think, Nick, if you're in the comment, I think it's 88%. A policy that has 88% approval. When people hear a vote for that is coming up on top of a pandemic, and you can't see the value in that, did you only read Marxism? Have you not read about Martin Luther King? Have you not read about the black? Maybe you should read about some black leftists and the things they did. Or maybe you just think Martin Luther King marched across the bridge. They got a couple of water holes and dogs sicked on them for a couple of weeks. And then they voted in some people to get civil rights legislation passed. Maybe you think that. But the reality, it took about a decade, if not more, of different small direct action culminating more and more boycotts, failed attempts, many of them, many direct actions that didn't get notoriety because nothing came from them. Many. But imagine if the civil rights leaders attempted to get civil rights passed the way they're talking about. Imagine that. Can you imagine? Where would we be? Let's listen some more. Then we're going to get to the Nina Turner because that's
right.
Right. And hopefully they get it done by the 6th. But let's just eliminate that because that would have been very hard to predict that was going to happen. Yeah. But what we do know would happen would be that it would push back the infrastructure bill. I mean, the COVID relief bill, right? Because that came in very quickly a couple of weeks later. And it would have slowed the construction of that bill.
So the COVID relief
that
oh my God. It's the accepting of politics as usual. I don't know a leftist that does that. Where you're like, I need to promote, and we need change. And let's only try to vote people in to do this. I don't understand. Is there a blind spot, or are they intentionally not acknowledging the obvious here? I'm just trying to figure that out. I can't yet understand, or have not yet determined if this is a little bit of pretending to be naive because they don't really want to do the work, or they really don't get this. And it's, for me, maybe I'm not speaking for anybody else, but for me, you not joining the calls for, or the call for for forced to vote isn't the biggest thing. It's the way you criticize the people doing it. That's the point to me. You're criticizing people trying to get something you claim that you want. So let me just skip to this other video because I want to do this, get to this Nina Turner video before this stream gets too long. Here, let's get to the Nina Turner video here. Okay, here's they're gonna be playing a Nina Turner video when she goes on some show, the Humanist Report. She goes on, so let's listen.
There is an empty seat in Ohio. Nina Turner. When do we know when this the primary is?
I looked it up the other day, and I think it's in the summer. Let me check. Really? Okay. I think I saw June, but oh wait, look, here it is in my past search history, because I do my research on the show, and okay, May 4th, 2020. Oh no, I'm sorry. Per Ohio law, the primary would like.
That was an oddly placed comment. Very awkward, like almost like she was responding to a tweet or something. Because I do my research. That was very odd to me.
Likely be held on either May 4th or August 3rd, both concurrent with a regularly scheduled primaries, with the general election on either August 3rd or November 2nd. So there's two possible dates for the primary.
One would think that they would have already settled on it if it's not, May is only a couple, well, I guess it's 4 months away, but here's Nina Turner. She's on the Humanist Report, and she's walking through the dynamics that are involved in what was called force the vote, and trying to explain that the perception that people have of inside power is maybe sometimes wrong.
It's okay to be disappointed, but the squad is ultimately the best that we have in terms of being able to push an.
Listen to the description. Is ultimately, meaning the bottom line, the best we have. That's lesser of two evil. That's the best we got in there. That means what, though? Not to criticize them as they do nothing?
An agenda. And what that means is that you might not always agree with the methods. I need people to understand that when you are on the inside, it doesn't mean that you are selling out. I know they're getting a lot of pressure, but they are the ones up there holding it down. They're pushing as hard as they can.
Holding what down? Holding what down? What exactly are they holding down? Literally, what are they holding down? They're doing nothing. Tweeting. Rokana Progressive, he tweets about war as his wife has stock. Invested in it. Like, get the fuck out of here, Rokana. So let's continue, Nina. And like I said, these are videos I've never seen. I haven't even seen the full video of this here.
Just because things are not going exactly the way, just because they're not.
That's a little bit not a correct description. Things aren't going exactly the kind. Things aren't going nowhere. There's nothing moving. You get what I'm saying? It's not like there's 3 roads and we're saying take this road and they're going, no, we're going to take this one over here. They're not taking no roads. No roads. And that's the point.
They're not using the exact tactics that some in the activist community want them to use. That doesn't mean that you throw them away, because guess what? If
I feel like this is a conversation that is we should be so well past, like far past as leftists. And I'm not sure it's correct to call it, to describe it as the tactic that some of those people in the activist community, because I know plenty of people who wanted forced to vote who haven't sniffed activism and don't plan on to. So to me, that's almost borderline inaccurate in the description.
If you're throwing away members of the squad who are our best opportunity to get what we need, and also some members of that progressive caucus.
So maybe the Humanist Report was hearing, hey, we don't want these people here. They're hearing. So for those who tag these Nina and all of them on different things, they're hearing, they're reading, they're seeing it. Because for you to know that there's a discontentment enough for you to bring it up, that means you've more than just heard a little bit of it.
Then you're not gonna have anybody.
There is nobody.
And just because
there is nobody, and this is the veil that we have to uncover. There is no one. There is no leftist in Congress, including Bernie Sanders is not a leftist. There is none. Because tactics matter. You espousing beliefs does what? If in your execution what does that do? So you're saying you're for a $15 minimum wage, right? As you don't put pressure on Joe Manchin or Kristen Sinema for their vote. As you follow the Senate parliamentarian. Strategy matters. How you're trying to get it matters. Yes. So if not our strategy, tell us your strategy. And don't just say, we're working in the background. No, tell us what is the strategy you're executing so that we know whether you've done it or not. We need to be able to have benchmarks where, oh, you said this. Okay, this has come up. Where's the results? But you just saying, oh, we're working on it. No.
are not going exactly the way, just because they're not using the exact tactics that some in the activist community want them to use, that doesn't mean that you throw them away. Because guess what? If you're throwing away members of the squad who are our best opportunity to get what we need, and also
if you're throwing away Joe Biden, who's our best opportunity to get Donald Trump out of the White House,
some members of that progressive caucus, then you're not going to have anybody there. So if the prerequisite, in summation, if the prerequisite for relationship means that I have to do, or the squad has to do everything you say,
not everything. One. So not everything. One.
The way you say do it, then there's not much of a relationship.
There is a way, because we put you there. We didn't put you there for you to do things your strategy. That's not what we put you there for. For you to execute your personal strategy. No. You were put there to agitate. Where is the agitation? Or maybe calling her Mama Bear is a good way of agitating her, or giving Joe Biden an A grade. That's great agitation. Or failing to hold your ground on a bill until they voted on both bills and then you got duped. Or, I mean, where do you want me to stop here? And somebody just put something in the comments about somebody being a ladder climber. And I'm getting to that in the next video. This is about careers. I'm getting to that in the next video.
At all. And that, you're going to be disappointed. Hell, they're going to be disappointed with me. I said that.
We're going to be disappointed in her. Why was somebody...
I'm saying it to you, Mike. I want them to...
She said it on Tim Black. You're going to be disappointed in me. Let me go ahead and donate some money to her. That makes me want to donate to you. That makes me want to phone bank for you. You're already telling me you're going to disappoint me. You're telling me up front that you're not going to have a backbone. You're not going to do nothing. I hope everybody had a chance to watch the third-party summit and stop voting for Democrats. There's not a difference. We're disappointed in the corporate Democrats, and Nina just told us we're going to be disappointed in her, a progressive Democrat. And we're all disappointed in Bernie. We're all disappointed in AOC. And they're telling us this is just how it's going to be. But give us money and your time and energy and phone bank for us.
I want them to know you're going to be disappointed at some point. But that does not mean that you give up totally on the people who are the best fighting.
Why? Why? So you could live a good life for 10 years as a politician and get us health care in 10 years? While you've lived 10 years off our money and the best health care on the planet and getting paid tweeting. they're essentially getting paid several $100,000 to tweet because shit ain't happening. And this is another thing I want to say. Wasted vote. This is another thing. Third party is a wasted vote. You know what's really a wasted vote? Voting for somebody, them winning, and then them doing nothing. That's what a wasted vote. You voted for them, campaign, do all this work. They actually win. Wow. Paid off. And then they do nothing. And they tell you, you're going to be disappointed in me. We're pick and choose our battles. I haven't seen a battle you've done. When are you doing the choosing? The duopoly is completely unserious. Democrats are completely unserious. Progressive Democrats are completely unserious. Because they're walking the line that the very things that the leftists believe in, the Democrats are doing, but you're trying to tell us to elect us to that team. So it's very weird. It's a very odd situation to be in, to be a progressive candidate for the Democratic Party. Because everything we talk about, imperialism, oppression, the police state, healthcare, LGBT rights, women's rights, equal pay, like everything they're against. Tell me this. If you vote for somebody that tells you they're going to disappoint you, when you vote for them and they win, what's going to happen? They're going to disappoint you, right? Why go through that motion?
Chance that you have. And then there's something called strategy. So the grassroots strategy is different than the strategy once you are on the inside. You will know when somebody is sold out. And I assure you that
Well, then that's what we need to change. If the grassroots strategy is different than the inside, then once you're inside, then that's the paradigm we need to change. Because doing the same strategy you did grassroots, when you're in a position to actually affect, to somebody see you doing those things, that's exactly what you should be doing. Agitating. We understand that that's probably not what you want to do if you want to be a politician for 5, 10, 15, 30 years like Pelosi. Then that's a problem.
that the squad has not, underline, bold, underscore, sold out in any way.
Yeah, they have, and that's the end of this video. She said they haven't sold out in any way. So we're going to sum this up with a call. Person called in and pretty much articulated I'll let them say in their own words, but something similar to what we're all saying. The point is to force the vote. And let me stop sharing this one and share the other one now. So let's share this other one. This will be the last video we cover. This one is titled "Looking Back on Force the Vote." So this was August 2021, this video. So let's listen. A caller calls in and listen to the caller.
One of the things, it's been a ongoing conversation about force the vote. And one of the things why I initially was supportive of the effort is because I do believe that it is the role of people who are, supporters or activists of, or just citizens to push their politicians. I think it also can sometimes be you're pushing them for something that makes no sense. And
like getting Medicare for all, or waking up the consciousness of Medicare for all through debating a bill on the floor.
And that was what ultimately was the problem with that. It was not so much the broad tactic of pushing your politicians. You want that to happen,
right?
The politicians, the good ones and the ones that are decent, also want that to happen because they want to be boxed in to make certain decisions because that gives them some measure of cover. But you also want to do it for like some actual gains.
Yeah, we had Ben Spielberg on Left Reckoning last week to talk about this exact dynamic of how to do this correctly. I think the problem the squad had is anytime that they get something, Biden also says, "Oh yeah, I wanted that too." We're not in a situation where they push for something that Biden like can't own, right? And it'd be nice to like, I don't know if they're like,
maybe this is not the call,
structurally
actually.
It's possible where they can say, I mean, AOC is talking about sinking the bipartisan bill now, like that muscle needs to get exercised. And the problem with force to vote is it didn't really like, it narrowed the exercise way too much to where we forgot that, oh, we're supposed to exact a price from Pelosi to continue supporting her. That's fundamentally what we need, and we didn't really even get as good of a price because all the noise.
Well, the narrowing was that's why the narrowing was a part of a particular project.
The narrowing wasn't about extracting more from Dems. It was about a referendum on the project of the squad.
Exactly. And that was what ultimately, ended up being the when I left the bus on that.
Well, it's
yeah, because you can't criticize AOC or the squad, or I'm leaving. You talk about those people because if you're critiquing them and what you're critiquing them about, that means that reflects on me because I'm identical to them. And that's the rub. That's what's really happening. So what I'm going to do is try to find this here. Let's try to find it. What did I type in? Force vote. I think that's all I typed in. Let's see. That video up here. So that's the video. That's the video one. Oh, was there a Vaush video? Maybe it was a Vaush video. I don't see it now. Looking back. Anyway, I must keep looking for this call. Minimum wage. Can't believe that came up. Force to vote. Fraud squad. I guess I can do a Jimmy video, but I really wanted to find. So anyway, a guy called in. So let me type in Sam Seder. Maybe that'll help. All of you are seeing this, right? Type in. Let me see. I don't have the screen up. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Failed miserably. Maybe this is it right here. The deep dive one. Okay. So I found it. This is where the caller calls in. And listen. I don't know if this is a setup call or real, but listen to the caller.
All right. So first of all, I'd just like to say I'm a huge fan of the show. Know me, I live for your jazz snaps. And you're like the lefty father we all wish we had. I can imagine you whenever the revolution starts saying, hey, y'all can't go to the revolution because
they believe they're going to be part of the revolution. But they don't want to force the vote. Do they understand that the revolution is going to be many direct actions that's going to fail and nothing's going to come of them? What revolution? I wonder what they envision a revolution to be.
Target's closed and you won't be able to reapply any sunscreen and you won't be able to stay hydrated. So for that, I thank you all very much.
Well, you're welcome, I think.
They're waiting to see what your question is. I don't know what side you're on with forced to vote, so I can't really give you a compliment right now.
My main point of discussion is the whole Medicare for all argument. And, you know, I'm not a fan of Jimmy Dore. I'm much more of a fan of the ecosystem that you built.
You notice, I'm just going to leave it alone. This Jimmy derangement syndrome is
huge fan of Nomi's show. Was a huge fan of Michael's show as well. So I love that entire community that you have. That being said, I really think it is a good idea for us to bring up that Medicare for all for a vote. And I've got a few, I'd like to discuss it with you guys and see what y'all think about it. I've heard a lot of the discourse that y'all have mentioned. And my main points are that right now, ACA has never been weaker. Trump has been trying to completely do away with it. And Joe Biden, we know that he's going to rebuild it. So if we don't attack it from now, it's going to be really, really tough to do in the future. And the third point is that right now in a pandemic, a lot of people are losing their health insurance. I lost mine whenever I lost my job a few months ago. And because of that, I think we do have a really, really strong case to make a point that we deserve Medicare for all as citizens of the country and not.
So this person makes a great point in the call, which is he lost his health care. This is like people who believe in electoral politics. It's like nothing triggers them to say, okay, we need to do an expedited version. You get what I'm saying? Like there's none of that. Like a pandemic means there needs to be a different level of people power than ballot than at the ballot box. What is the trigger for you? Because for a lot of people, the pandemic is the trigger.
Not just as employees. And if we're able to really put it there as a vote, then we could have all of the people who are for it that we know have co-sponsored it get on the floor, make their point about it. And whenever it does get knocked down, which we know, this could incite that direct action that Jamie always talks about. And we could leverage that in order to really.
That point there, this could be the trigger. 88% of people want single payer. Something like that. It could be 86%, 86, 88%. Congress is debating healthcare. I have a relative that just died of COVID related. There's a pandemic. Millions of people, or a million people died. They're debating it. What? You're not for it? My congressman is not for it? This is easy. Like, really? You can't put this together? That could have galvanized people. Okay, time to turn it up a notch. So-and-so is not for it. Target that seat. Target this seat. They didn't want that. We don't want you to target seats. So let's listen to a little more here.
Make these protests and hold our individual representatives accountable and try to force them or kick them out in the next 2 years. And in that way, I see it sort of like tacking and sailing, where we use the inside-outside strategy that Lula da Silva was so famous for effectively utilizing in order to really build that coalition on the inside and outside.
Let me just see if I understand the chain of events that happened. Like, look, and again, I just want to stipulate that I think it was, I think the idea of leveraging the vote has value. Leveraging the vote for Pelosi has value. Okay.
He had to specifically say that because he don't want anybody to come back and say force a vote on anything else.
But if I understand what you're saying here is what's going to happen is this vote's going to come to the floor. Now, presumably what has to happen is 10, I think it's approximately, it depends on how many people show up. All right. The way that the voting works is this. You need to get the majority of votes for the speaker of named votes. So for instance, the progressives who go there, they have to go, because if they don't go, it's still just a majority of named votes. So 10 progressives could not show up in Congress, and it would still be, it would be close there. Let's say 9 could not show up in Congress. And if everybody else in the Democratic and the Republican caucus showed up, I think there'd be one more vote for Nancy Pelosi. So they need to show up. They cannot vote present, because if they vote present, they still have the same dynamic. It's as if they're not there. They need to vote for somebody else. Let's say they vote for Noam Chomsky. All right. Then it goes back. There's no winner because nobody gets the majority of the voting named votes. Goes back to the caucus. They say, we demand a vote on Medicare for all. Okay, you'll get that vote. Incidentally, all of you will never get a committee shift. You don't ever. We're going to nail.
Career. It is about a career. That's why they didn't get it. What is the need for a committee seat? Unless you're trying to be there for several years. This is about a careers. If they do what that's going to cause Pelosi and powerful people not to like me. And I won't get committee seats and to be chairs of this and that.
Majority of the voting named votes goes back to the caucus. They say, we demand a vote on Medicare for all. Okay, you'll get that vote. Incidentally, all of you will never get a committee shift. You don't ever. We're going to nail you on.
That's a thing to them. So the opportunity for all eyes, or Americans' eyes, to be on this topic of Medicare for all, the unveiling of those who are not supporting it, when 88% of Americans support it, that is not more valuable than an individual committee seat. Strategy matters.
On everything, but okay, you're going to get your vote. Then the vote comes back. The full House votes on Medicare for all. The vote ends up being approximately 315 to 118.
So something that 88% of people want, and Congress comes back 300 and some odd people voting against it, and all of us are just gonna go, okay, just go with Obamacare. Either you're being intentionally this naive, or you're this far removed that you're this naive about this.
Whatever it is, 305 to 118. I don't know how many.
You see how he can only understand through the lens of duopoly of winning and losing. That's the only thing he understands.
435, but we have some that it might be accident. So Medicare for all, assuming every single one of the co-sponsors of the bill vote for it, it loses by 300 votes. Then,
in all of these videos, there's never a discussion about the value in having them talk about this, because they only understand wins and losses.
Then, according to the plan, the Democrats who voted against Medicare for all, who had already not co-sponsored the bill, that list gets disseminated. There are
let me say it a different way. So what he's attempting to do is go step by step through our strategy in describing it. Maybe he's trying to point out that it's ridiculous. Maybe that's what he's, attempting to do. But I feel like he's internalizing it because that lack of vote is not going to motivate you, rich white liberal. Yeah, it's not going to motivate you. And maybe here lies the problem. You don't see the value in it because this is not something that motivates you because you only understand wins and losses. But a person who hasn't had Medicare or who doesn't have had health care for several years may want to hear who's for it, who's not for it, the ideas that people have to implement it, the ideas that people have to pay for it. But a person who has it, they don't see a value in that debate. And I think I'm going to cut it there. I went past, not that long, but I went for an hour and a half. So I think I'm going to cut it there. I'm going to play a little bit more of this. A little bit more of the Nina Turner. I did want to get to that part, but I do want to go back to the Nina Turner and give her the opportunity to see if she cleans this up a little bit. I've never seen the video, so this is the first time I'm seeing it. So let's see.
They need the grassroots. You can hold them accountable, but you don't throw them away. I mean, some of the pressures, even with Congresswoman Cori Bush, I just want to use her as.
So I'm going to rewind it because I was going to say this as a point, like, y'all need us. Cori was elected because of grassroots. Nina, if she's elected, will be because of grassroots. The reason she lost the last time because of the lack of grassroots.
So the grassroots strategy is different.
Yeah, let's go forward right there.
Once you are on the inside, you will know when somebody is sold out. And I assure you.
And we know. We know. You're right. We will know when somebody's sold out, and they have.
That the squad has not, underline, bold, underscore, sold out in any way. They need the grassroots.
Yep.
You can hold them accountable, but you don't throw them away.
This whole holding accountable bullshit line that comes from the duopoly, holding accountable is one thing, getting them the fuck out of office. Period. That's it. There's no other way to hold politicians accountable. That is it. Getting them out of office.
Away. I mean, some of the pressures, even with Congresswoman Cori Bush, I just want to use her as the example. I mean, she just got there. Hell, overall, the squad members overall.
It don't matter when you arrive at a place to vote the right way and to do the right things and to say the right things. It doesn't matter when you arrive to do that.
All just got there, even the ones who've been there a little longer. And then you have people just throwing up their hands, throwing them away just because they're not using the tactics that you want them to use. You don't know what is going on.
Hey, I appreciate that.
I'm so mad that Nina Turner even had to comment on this because
I didn't know this lady just said that. I didn't know that. What's her name, Jamie? I didn't know she said that because I never got this far in the video. She's mad that she had to comment on these peasants' strategy. That's what she's mad about. Look at the people who's doing this. They don't matter. Their opinions, what they're trying to say to have done, the strategy doesn't matter. You're above those fucking peasants. Let's end it there and let's go ahead and put that up there. I did say this earlier, but shout out to those on Rockfin watching. Shout out to YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Tons and tons of comments. Lots of great conversation. A lot of the conversation in the comments were amongst all of you. So thank you for that. Let's see what else we have in here. I don't think I saw any super chats. just to be sure. Yeah, Third Party Summit was great. And I think they just put up the full segment that Jill Stein did on Friday, and then we'll put up the full segment that Jill Stein. And we'll put the segments out, so that for those that don't want to watch it all together, a 7-hour video, a 9-hour video. Now we're not putting out every segment, but we will put out some of the more popular segments, I guess. So that is on its way. The first one was uploaded today, along with some smaller clips from the same summit. And yeah. All right. So that's going to be it. I'm going to be signing off here. Thank you for joining. I will be back tomorrow at the same time. I don't think I have a special time tomorrow. So I shall be back tomorrow. But I'm going to be signing off here. Thank you for joining. One other thing, we just had the Third Party Summit. We will be doing another summit. Tentatively, we switched the name from International Solidarity Summit to Anti-Imperialist is going to be part of the name. So I think it's either International Anti-Imperialist Summit or Anti-Imperialist International Summit. So something like that. So that's an update on that. And then we're looking at the late April, maybe the last weekend in April as when we were going to be holding this event. It will be of international activists. So we hope to get some activists in Palestine. We hope to get some activists, in Global South, of course. We hope to get some activists in China. So we're going to get different activists throughout the world who are all kind of fighting the same imperialist sort of core. So that is coming, and just wanted to update you on that. So please, if you are able to donate, if you're able to support us financially, any small amount would help. You can always check us out on Patreon, and you would just go patreon.com/revolutionary blackout, or if you're on the website, you can just search us, and it will pop up. So let's go ahead and end the stream with the video. So I do have a video queued up this time, and I'll go ahead and end with this video before the stream cuts. So a lot of you, if you follow me, you've already seen it. Great video of Sister Souljah on the Donahue Show. I just can't believe this used to be on network TV and nothing like this now. And I just wish it was still on, stuff like this was still on TV. Let's see. I've never tried this one. Let's see how this one looks. Anyway, all right, so here is that video, and I'm signing off. So thank you for joining. You left shit out.
Senator Bradley of the all-white United States Senate said we can't get there unless we all go there together. Sorry, none of us are where he is. That's number one. Number two, you're making a moral appeal to a country that doesn't have a moral conscience. Right. The question becomes that when white people feel serious and angry and upset about abortion, they come out in the thousands up to the millions to say, this is what we believe about abortion. Where is the white outcry against white racism that murders African people all around this entire globe? It doesn't exist. So who are these white good people? I want to meet them. I want to see them. A few is not enough.
But that might be all we can get.
No. And guess what? I don't work with all I can get. What I work with is what I have. Listen, you have to have some confidence in the power of African people amongst ourselves to establish a foundation. We have. No, we haven't. We have utter chaos in our cities, and you got to say that. You can have a program. I I'm not saying we've built a lot of institutions, and those institutions have not been effective. The majority of millions of African youth in this country are dying mentally, dying spiritually, dying emotionally, dying academically. And you may have a program, Mr. Brown may have a program, but what we got to talk about is an American government that tracks millions of African people who don't go to your program, don't go to Brown's program. Millions of African people, not only here, but all around the world. And if we are not honest enough to say who are our friends, who are our enemies, to know what a friend is, to know what an enemy is, we will constantly be trying to get into people's parties, to shake our butts with them, to get them to like us. And that's not the question. The question is, what can we build amongst ourselves to secure ourselves from our enemies so that we will be able to survive into the future?
Mayor Kelly.
Mayor, enough to know that if I walk out Washington, D.C. tonight,